Greetings, Commanders, and welcome back to our tutorial series here in Elite Dangerous. The inspiration tab on my YouTube studio has indicated that there might be a very high interest amongst those of you who watch Elite Dangerous content in a tutorial on how to do deep space carrier related activities. So I figured I'd sit down, kind of go over the basics of getting your fleet carrier, moving it around, how to get fuel in it, the different things you can do with the fleet carrier, and then, you know, how do you take it out into the black and actually make it something that's sustainable to continue for however long it is that you decide to stay out there and however far it is that you go. Before we do that, we'll just go ahead and talk about the current journey that we're on in our Deep Space Carrier series on the channel. We started off in the bubble back here, traveled all the way down here to the south to notice the southern meridian. And then we're kind of following these waypoints here on our way up towards the absolute western portion of the galaxy. So we're going to try to get all the way over there if we can, as far as we can. And that's kind of where right now we're right here at the alluring siren. So we've gone all the way down here, all the way over here, and most of that has been self-sustaining so far. I mean, we stocked up on a bit of tritium at first, but that ran out pretty quickly, and we've kind of had to refuel ourselves along the way as we've gone. So let's talk a little bit about why you would want to use a fleet carrier for a long distance trip like this, because there are several benefits that come from having a fleet carrier out here in deep space that you might not think about until somebody kind of points it out to you and you've experienced it, especially if you're the kind of person who does deep space exploration and you get a little bit anxious about having millions and millions or even billions worth of exploration data in your ship, and you know you don't want to die. So the first obvious benefit is just the fact that the fleet carrier has a 500 light year jump distance, max jump distance, which to get to certain parts of the furthest edges of the galaxy, you're going to need that jump distance to have any chance of reaching those. So the fleet carrier itself is going, because even with the boosts, none of the basic ships in the game are ever going to have a 500 light year jump range, unless you like somehow happen to get near a neutron star. But even then, you're not going to find those at the edge of the galaxy like that. So the jump distance itself is one of the biggest reasons why you might want to do that. The other reason is just the fact that you're able to bring all of your ships that you want to bring with you. You're not stuck in the same ship for weeks or months. You can bring however many. There's a limit. You can bring up to 40 ships on your fleet carrier with you, but you know you're probably not going to bring 40 different ships. You're going to bring one of each of the kind of ships that you want to bring with you, and you'll have those available to fly around and do exploration and just play around in as you feel like it. It just gives you a little bit more variety in your travels, so that just kind of helps alleviate that space madness of just doing the same thing over and over and over again and not really having anything else to do. The other part is that you have access to onboard ships to sell your data as you're continuing throughout the galaxy. I have a universal cartographics module attached to my ship, as well as Vista Genomics for when we get off of when we go inside the carrier itself. We can run inside to Vista Genomics and sell off all of our data. That helps with the relatively expensive upkeep that comes with this particular thing. And then the last benefit I can think of off the top of my head is just the fact that if you put the modules in, you'll be able to refuel your ship and repair and restock anything that your ships need, because that's part of the services that come with the fleet carrier should you attach those modules to your ship. You do have to actually attach those. We'll talk about modules here in just a minute. But if you get access to those, while it is something expensive to maintain, it's really nice to be able to just refuel your ship if you need to, and restock your ammo and repair your ship, and not have to really worry that much about dying. You also respawn at your carrier rather than the last station that you're at if you die for some reason, so that also provides a little bit more of a safety factor. Now, that's why you might want to bring a fleet carrier with you. Let's talk about how you actually get one. So if you head over to Google, if you can't remember what you're doing, you can just type in Elite Dangerous Fleet Carrier, head over to the wiki, and this page here has everything that you need to know as far as numbers and where you can find everything that you need to find. We're still going to go over it real quick, but this is going to be the page that you reference once you're ready to start doing something. The base cost of the fleet carrier is 5 billion credits. Keep in mind that this is not an actual purchase. This is basically a leasing fee. You spend you're basically giving them a 5 billion. You're giving them 5 billion in collateral, even though the ships are invulnerable. You can't destroy them. You're giving them 5 billion in collateral. You'll get most of that back should you decide to sell your fleet carrier. But this is just basically a collateral fee that you're paying them to get access to the fleet carrier. You're going to have a weekly upkeep for the carrier that you're going to have to continue to pay to rent the fleet carrier from the corporation, the Brewer Corporation here. So just keep in mind that, yes, you have to spend $5 billion up front just to get the carrier, but there is a continuing weekly fee that you have to pay to continue to use that fleet carrier. You also have a bunch of modules. If you scroll down here to the table, you also have a bunch of modules that you can add. You can add a shipyard outfitting, you can add the Visigenomics, you can add universal cartographics, a whole bunch of different modules here that you can add to your fleet carrier to make it more functional. But just like you did with the actual purchase of the fleet carrier, there is an upfront cost to have these modules installed on your fleet carrier. So in addition to the $5 billion that you're going to have to spend for the fleet carrier itself, you're also going to have to spend however many millions it's going to be for each of the modules that you want. And each module also increases the upkeep, the weekly upkeep cost of your fleet carrier every week. It adds it on top of the base weekly upkeep. Now for me, I have most of the various different modules installed. My current weekly upkeep is 32 and some change million credit. It changes every week. It was 32 and a half the last time I tried to do this video. I don't know why it's different now. Over 30 million credits a week that I have to come up with. Not really that hard to do if you're focusing on exobiology, because there's a lot of money to be made in scanning life forms. But just keep that in mind. That is something that you're going to have to balance in your mind as to how much you're willing to spend and try to keep up with that upkeep, because it does get pretty difficult if you don't know what you're doing. So just have that in the back of your mind. When you're ready to purchase your fleet carrier, I personally saved up about $7 billion before I decided to actually go buy the fleet carrier, because I knew I was going to have to spend the $5 billion on the fleet carrier itself, and I already knew kind of what modules I wanted, and I knew how much it was going to cost me using this table here, and I just wanted to have a little bit of a buffer. So I would recommend about $7 billion before going to try to buy your first fleet carrier, just to make sure you have enough left over to be able to afford different things. Buy tritium for your ship. We'll talk about that in a later section. But once you're ready to actually buy your fleet carrier, I believe this page probably has somewhere on it where you can find the different stations, but I personally prefer to head over to inara.cz, and you can search for the nearest station from where you are. So let's say you happen to be at Jameson Memorial in Shinrarta Desra, and you are looking for a fleet carrier vendor. You're going to search for that, and it will actually give you the closest one to you first. So you can head over to the system, head over to the station where that has the contact for you to be able to purchase the fleet carrier. You'll dock at the station, go into the contacts menu, talk to the fleet carrier vendor, complete your purchase, which will spawn your fleet carrier in a nearby system, which is going to be the nearest system that actually is a outfitter system. So let's see, can I get back to, so if we go to Fleet Carrier Services, or Fleet Carrier Administration, I believe, it'll be a system that has Fleet Carrier Administration in it, I believe. It's one of these two. Your fleet carrier must be in an administration system to be able to change out the various different modules that you have on your fleet carrier. So let's go ahead and take a moment before going too far into that so that you guys can understand all the various different parts of your fleet carrier, because talking about modules is going to be a little bit confusing if you don't know what I'm talking about. To get into this carrier management window here, there are a couple of different options. You can either land at your fleet carrier, hop into the carrier services window here. You can head over to carrier management, and that will bring up the window. But that would be very inconvenient if you happen to be a fair distance away from your carrier and you need to maybe schedule a jump or you need to manage something. So conveniently, the ship pane over here on the right side of your ship over here, on the right side of your cockpit over here, a carrier management window will pop up, will now start appearing here after you've completed your purchase. You can also reach the carrier management window from there, from anywhere in the galaxy. That's super convenient. We're going to go ahead and do it from here because we don't really get the annoying loud extra music bug that happens when you do it from the ship. So this is the carrier management window. This right here is your carrier balance. It's how much money you have stored in the bank on your fleet carrier. The weekly upkeep tells you how much money you have to come up with every week to pay for the ship. The capacity is how much of your carrier storage is being used. Modules, ships, items, all that stuff uses up capacity here. So you have 25,000 units of total capacity that you can have stored on your fleet carrier. Moving around the galaxy requires using the navigation pane here. You will open up the galaxy map from the carrier management window to open the galaxy map up in fleet carrier mode. You can click on a body and set a carrier destination, and that will initiate a request for a jump for your carrier. We'll talk about that in a minute when we actually get into the carrier travel portion of this tutorial. Or you can type in a destination, click on it, it will move you over there just like travel. But the basic thing you're looking for is you're trying to set the carrier destination by clicking on an item there. So that is the navigation pane. Next up is going to be the budget panel. You can deposit and withdraw funds from your fleet carrier bank from this window here. If you want to withdraw funds, deposit funds, and you just move the money around as you want. The commodity trading and the bartender tab both do pretty much the same thing. You'll open up the market for each of them. If you want to trade in a specific thing, you'll click on it, decide you want to trade, and then buy or sell, and you'll set your price. I don't particularly do anything with either of those, so I don't really have too much. I don't really have too much in the way of advice to provide you for that. But if you're keeping your carrier in the bubble, this can be a pretty decent way of making some passive income by, buying and selling things. The Carrier Services tab here will tell you what services you have active on your ship at any given time. If it's yellow with a check mark, you have that service installed. Some of these are core services that you can't turn off. Some of these are optional services that you paid extra to have added to your ship. So when you first start up, you'll have these first three here, yellow and checked because they are core services. The rest of these will be orange, like this guy here with no check, indicating that you do not have that installed on your ship. So to add or remove these completely from your carrier, you have to go to one of these fleet carrier administration systems or fleet carrier services. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's one of these two here. You'll visit one of those systems, and that is where you will go to add or remove modules. Now, if you're not in a fleet carrier administration system, but you don't necessarily need to have access to one of the modules that you have installed, you can reduce your weekly upkeep by suspending the service of that particular module. That will make it so that it's no longer active. It's still installed on your ship, so you're still going to pay some of the weekly upkeep for that, but you're going to pay a reduced suspended amount based off of turning that off. So just keep that in mind. If you're struggling to keep up with your weekly carrier payments, you can always just suspend services, which will drastically reduce the amount that you're having to pay. You have shipyard and outfitting stocks. If you purchased ships to add to your shipyard, or you purchased modules to add to your outfitting section for your carrier, this will be available to other players to purchase from your fleet carrier if you want. If you're going out into deep space, these are probably pretty worthless to stock, but I do have my shipyard I do have a shipyard and outfitting module installed on my carrier because I want other people who happen to be out in deep space and find my carrier to be able to dock and maybe even store their ships on my carrier if they feel like coming along for the ride. Some people have wanted to do that in the past, so that's available for them. The settings down here will give you the ability to set various different things. You can decide who you want to be able to dock with your carrier, whether you want notorious commanders with notoriety to be able to come into your carrier there. You can also set your current activity, which will change the default layout of your carrier pane here. So the reason why mine is laid out this way is because I have exploration as my current activity, and it prioritizes universal cartographics as the actual thing that's happening. Then the last thing I want to talk about is customizing your carrier. This is the last part of the carrier management window that we'll talk about. If you want to change the appearance of your carrier, just like you can change your ship, you can change the appearance of your character through the livery menu. You hop into this menu here and you can change a bunch of different things from the actual physical appearance of your ship. There's several different options here if you hover over them. You can see how much arcs they cost. You can purchase it from there. You can also change the paint job, the engine color, the landing pad color. You can actually change what the color of the inside of your fleet carrier is going to look like. And you can choose who what the AI AI air traffic controller person sounds like. So it's another option available to you there should you want to do further customization to your fleet carrier. All right, so we talked about getting your fleet carrier. We've talked about outfitting your carrier. We've talked about customizing and management window and all of that stuff. Now we need to talk about actually taking your carrier out into deep space if that's what you're planning on doing. So as I said, you can do the navigation pane here to find where it is that you're trying to go. It'll open up a fleet carrier version of your galaxy map, and that's great, but unfortunately, You're not able to set long distance routes with the carrier like you are able to do with your ship. You can schedule one jump at a time, 500 light years at a time. And that's kind of annoying and kind of frustrating, but there is a tool available to you to make your life a little bit easier if you have a far off place that you would like to go and don't necessarily want to have to figure out the route every step of the way. So if you open up your web browser here, you type in spanch.co.uk like that. You click on the blue button here and go down to Fleet Carrier Router. This right here will be the bread and butter of your travels as a fleet carrier owner. You'll be able to type in your destination system, and you'll be able to, to your starting system, and then you'll be able to type in your destination system. Let's say, where are we trying to go? I don't remember where. We'll just do one of the HIP systems. That should be far enough away. And you hit calculate, and it'll bring up this nice spreadsheet here that will take you from where you are all the way to where you're trying to go, as close to 500 light years at a time as is manageable. This is really nice because it makes it so that you don't have to figure out where you're going. The calculator will figure it out for you, and you just copy the destination, hop into your router here. You open up the fleet carrier version of your galaxy map, paste the destination in, click it over there, and you know, the first thing in your actual route will actually show up as an option for you to click on it. This is too far away from where we are right now, but you'll be able to, it'll put it within range. You'll be able to click schedule the route. The other cool thing about this is you can download this as a CSV file, which is basically an Excel spreadsheet. You'll be able to save that on your computer. That will make it easier to keep track, especially if you have a much longer journey that you're trying to keep track of, because this web page won't save. I'm sure there's probably a way to make it save the way you want it to. I'm not aware of what it is, but you can just download it as a spreadsheet and use that, and then you can still copy and paste that into your browser as required. So that's moving your carrier around. That's route planning. Let's talk about the last part, and perhaps, well, definitely the most important part of operating a carrier out in deep space, and that is fuel. Now, unfortunately, your ship may have access to a fuel scoop for your regular ship, but this particular, there's one last thing we need to talk about for fleet carrier movement. The game treats fleet carriers more like a station than they do like a ship. So the ship, the fleet carrier itself actually just kind of teleports from one place to another. It simulates like a wormhole effect as you're doing it, but from a gameplay perspective, it basically just teleports from one location to another. And the reason why that's important is that when you send your request in to do a jump to another system, it adds your request to every other person requesting to move their carrier at any given time, and you might have to wait in line for quite a while if the server is really busy. The minimum time to move your carrier is something like 15.5 minutes or something like that, but I've had my carrier have to wait an hour and a half or more when the system gets really busy. And if it's really, really super busy, even if you're able to get a spot, sometimes you're just not able to. Sometimes there's just so many people trying to move their carrier that it tells you couldn't schedule the jump because there's not a slot available. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to do travel. This is irrespective of where you are in the galaxy. The entire server runs off of the same thing. So if there's a bunch of stuff happening all at once, even though you're out in the galaxy all by yourself, you're still going to be affected by this problem because this is all based off of one part of the server controlling all of the jumps. So just keep that in mind as you're messing with that. Okay, tritium fleet carrier fuel is what we're going to talk about next. There's a couple of different ways to acquire tritium for your fleet carrier. Obviously, when you first buy your fleet carrier, you're probably going to use this first method, which is just to simply buy it. You can either get a ship with a big cargo hold and go find a place that has it. You can head over to Inara again to use that service to help you find what you're looking for. You head over to commodities. You can type in tritium. It helps if I actually type it in correctly. Tritium and your current location, and it will give you the nearest stations that have tritium. You can sort by price. You can sort by distance from where you are. You can sort by a bunch of different things depending on what it is that you're looking for. And you can just hop into your fleet carrier, head over there, grab it, and pick it up, or you can head into your commodity trading over here. You can find tritium on your list. I don't remember exactly where in here it is, but it's probably raw material. Is there a raw materials? I don't remember minerals. Minerals? Is it minerals? Is it minerals? No, I don't remember exactly where it is, but you can find it here in the list, and you can put a buy order in for it. I don't remember exactly where it is, though. I don't remember where it is. Anyways, just like you can trade the commodity, buy it, set the price for it, and if anybody wants to come to your carrier, if your price is attractive enough, they'll come and sell you tritium, and it'll go into your storage. The other thing we need to understand is that there is a fuel tank on your fleet carrier. As you can see, mine is currently 66% full. At any point, if you have a ship that has tritium in its cargo hold, you can come to this window, click on this button, and it will allow you to deposit tritium from your cargo hold into the fuel tank here. So that's this is the way that you're going to be refueling your fleet carrier. Whether you buy it or whether you mine it or whatever it is that you're going to do to get your fleet carrier fuel, this is where you're going to come to actually deposit the fuel into your tanks. You must have fuel in the tank here. It will not automatically pull from your storage, and there is no automated way of moving it from your storage into your tank here. You must move the fuel into your cargo hold and then into the tritium depot here. That's the way it works. Okay, so you can buy your fuel, which is probably the way you're going to do it at first. It's certainly the most efficient way of acquiring fuel. But unfortunately, when you're out in the black, buying fuel isn't really an option. You pretty much have to source it yourself, and you have to mine it yourself, and you have to transport it yourself, and you have to deposit it in the fuel tank yourself. So as you are traveling along in your journey, you're going to want to be on the lookout for various ringed gas giants. Gas giants are going to be your best bet for trying to find tritium in wherever it is that you're going. As you're going through your explorations, you're doing your full spectrum system scan, you're zooming in on planets, and you say, oh, that one has a nice set of rings on it that look like they might be icy. When you're finished doing your scan, you hop into the system map, you click on the planet itself, and then you come down here to where it says planetary information. If you look for ring type here and it says icy, that gives you a chance of there being a tritium hotspot in this ring somewhere. So all you have to do is fly over to the planet, use your detailed surface scanner, which as an explorer I'm sure you brought with you, fire a probe into the ring itself. That will cause a nice orange circle to go around this, and once that's done, you'll be able to hop into your navigation pane, and if there is a tritium hotspot nearby, or any hotspots nearby, it will show up under the points of interest filter for the navigation pane here. And once you find that, you'll be able to go down into the tritium hotspot with whatever mining ship that you brought with you, which I'm sure you're going to do that. Mine the tritium that you need to mine. I do have a mining tutorial video over in the beginner series, so if you need more information on that, be sure to go over and check out that video. That gives you pretty much everything you need to know about mining, so you can decide what kind of ship you're going to bring and what equipment and all of that stuff that you need. But that's the way that you're going to be acquiring tritium out in the black. You're going to be looking for gas giants with icy rings. You're going to scan them with your detailed surface scanner. Hopefully it has some tritium, and then you just bring your mining ship over, do the mining, bring the tritium back to your carrier, and deposit it into your tritium depot. Now, one of the things, now you have a choice to make once you do that. Once you have your tritium depot fueled, you can either move on and continue your journey, or if you're like me, you're probably going to want to have some excess tritium stored just in case you don't find a fuel stop for a while. So as you can see, my carrier here, you can access your carrier inventory from the transfer menu over here in the inventory from your ship panel. And you can see that the tritium on board my carrier, in excess of the tritium storage tank, the tritium fuel tank that I have 1,316 extra units of tritium. Anytime you want to store more than what your tank can hold, you can always transfer the tritium to the storage area of your carrier by heading over to your inventory, going over up here to the top right button and hitting transfer. You hit transfer all to carrier, and it will move the tritium over to your carrier storage, and that's how you do that. Anytime you need to actually put tritium into Anytime you need to actually put tritium into your fuel tank, so you're running low on fuel, you need to move tritium over from your storage area into your actual carrier fuel tank. Grab your ship with the biggest inventory space available. Head over to the transfer and hold the left button down until you have enough. I believe we had room for about 350-ish maybe 400 units of tritium to be able to put into the fuel depot. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that now. You just wait until it gets up to the number that you want. I'm going to do 350 because I'm pretty sure we had that. Make sure you click on Confirm Item Transfer, and then hit Cancel. You'll verify that you have the quantity of tritium that you wanted in your actual inventory. And once that's available and you head over to the tritium depot, now I can put tritium in here. I can put 338 units. That will fill up my tank. And then I'm just going to head back over to my inventory and then transfer the remaining balance back to my carrier storage. And that's the cycle. So that's pretty much it for managing your fleet carrier. Hopefully this was helpful to you. It is a fairly complicated process, sort of, but once you have it down, it's not really that bad. Once you buy the fleet carrier, you get it outfitted, you figure out how you're going to pay the weekly costs. You put together a mining ship so that you can go and mine whatever it is that you're going to mine. Then, you know, it's not too bad. I personally have 2 different mining ships that I'm planning on using. I have the Cutter, which is my laser mining ship. It has it has 3 Class 2s and 4 pre-engineered Class 1 mining lasers, a multi-limpet controller, a couple of collector limpet controllers, a prospector limpet controller, and the refinery to make sure that we can convert all of that. You can go to the mining episode to, you know, find out more about how all of that works. And then I also have a Type 8 that I have set up with a subsurface displacement missile mining rig on it so that I can have a different kind rather than just sitting there holding the laser button down. But it's up to you to decide how you want to prep for your journey, what ships you want to bring, why you want to bring them. There are myriad different combinations of ways that you can make it work, and all of those are up to you. So hopefully that was helpful. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early access to videos, among other perks, or you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with the thanks button. I also have PayPal and Patreon links in the description if you'd like to support the channel that way, because some people do like to go outside of YouTube to do that. So again, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to come back for our next tutorial, whenever that happens to come out, and check out the Deep Space Carrier series that we're running as we continue to do our circuit around the galaxy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.